Now, Uncle Larry's going to go down the list of all the scapegoats that they've trotted out as to why this happened, and, he wants to demolish them one by one. Start off with scapegoat number 1, The Matrix. Okay, it was a horrible movie, but it was not that horrible, all right? The Matrix did not cause these guys to go out and kill a bunch of kids in their high school, okay? Jack the Ripper, okay, Elizabeth Bathory, Giles de Rais, and good old Vlad the Impaler, who killed thousands of people, they never saw a single movie in their lives, okay? So obviously it's not the movies that are causing it, all right? Scapegoat number 2, video games, all right? Some people think that, shooting at little images of people are going to make you go out and shoot real people. But once again, if you look at the history of the 20th century, even post-movies, Charles Whitman, the guy who went up into that tower in Texas and shot all those people from the bell tower, or, when Uncle Larry was 16, this guy went into McDonald's and just blew away a bunch of people. It was one of the first types of those shootings. And he never played a video game in his life. The most destructive thing around then was Pong. That was all that was around back then. And most importantly, Hitler, Stalin, and Mao Zedong never played a video game in their lives, and they killed millions of people, boys and girls. So, I don't think you can really blame video games. Once again, an ineffective scapegoat. Now we get to Uncle Larry's favorite scapegoat, boys and girls. That is guns, all right? A lot of people, allegedly reasonable people are claiming that the fact that these guys could get guns is what allowed this tragedy to happen. Well, Uncle Larry wants to demolish this in several points, because you already know how he feels about gun control, boys and girls. First off, these guys not only went in with guns to kill people, they'd broken into the school and they'd wired it with a bunch of homemade bombs. And honestly, boys and girls, if they'd set off those bombs, they would have killed 5 times more than the people that they did shoot with their small arms fire, okay? But, and it's luckily that they didn't, but let's face it, you can't make the products in a homemade bomb illegal. Are you going to make pipes illegal because people can build pipe bombs out of them? Are you going to make fertilizer illegal because you can blow up a federal building with it? Obviously not. And that's one reason why the availability of guns is not the cause. All right? B, gun control. All right? People seem to think that that's the problem. Gun control. Well, look, gun control, it's not going to work. All right? If those guys hadn't taken small arms into the school, they could have just taken in a hunting rifle disguised as some curtain rods, boys and girls, easily enough, and getting back to some famous people who killed a lot of people, Jack the Ripper, Richard Speck, and Ted Bundy all killed people without using guns at all. In fact, some of their victims were strangled to death with their bare hands. So maybe we should make our hands illegal. After all, it's this finger that pulls the trigger. Maybe we should make this finger illegal. Okay? I mean, we've already made this finger illegal, so, what the hey. But as you can see, that it's pretty absurd. And the biggest argument Uncle Larry has against gun control, the one that he personally feels is the most compelling, is that if you make guns illegal, then only the police and the government are going to have them. And that's the last thing Uncle Larry wants to see, because in this country and all over the world, political authority comes out of the barrel of a gun, okay? The guy with the best weapons, he gets to make the rules, all right? And Uncle Larry just, if the day comes when the military-industrial complex suspends the Constitution, and decides to ship us all off to a concentration camp, Uncle Larry doesn't want to, get on the boxcars like the sheep that most people are. He wants to fight back. When the Nazis were shipping the Jews off to concentration camps, there were actually ghetto fighters. Jews in the ghetto who had firearms, who, of course the Nazis killed them, but they killed some of the Nazis before they went, and at least they went down fighting. And given the choice, if somebody said to Uncle Larry, hey, you want to just get on this boxcar and go be exterminated, or take a gun and kill as many of the fucking bastards as you can before they blow your ass away, well, it's no contest. Uncle Larry knows what he would do. All right? So Uncle Larry's happy that there are all these crazy people out there with guns, because if the government does decide, to impose martial law, at least they're going to be out there fighting back. At least they'll have the ability to fight back. Now, the major argument against this is what the gun control people say whenever you bring up this argument. They say, You know, the American military is so technologically advanced that a bunch of yokels with small arms hiding out in the bushes are not going to be able to stop them. The Army will just wipe them out. Well, Uncle Larry has 2 words for these idiots. Vietnam. You remember that? A bunch of peasant gooks hiding out in the bushes with small arms and, you know, homemade weapons kicked the ass of the entire United States Army. So it is not an ineffective argument, boys and girls. It's a good argument. Uncle Larry thinks the problem with this country is that there's not enough guns. Everybody ought to be armed from birth. From the time you're 3 years old, they ought to start teaching you how to shoot so that everybody's on even ground. We've all got guns. I mean, let's face it, if Eric and Dylan had walked into the cafeteria and pulled out their weapons, how many people do you think they would have shot if everybody else had pulled out a gun and blasted them away into a bloody hunk of Swiss cheese? Probably a lot less. You know, that guy wouldn't have walked into that McDonald's if everybody in there had been armed. Ramon Salcedo wouldn't have gone into that winery and killed those people if the minute he pulled his gun, you know, 8 other people would have pulled theirs and blasted his ass. So, you know, it's not the most popular solution, but Uncle Larry thinks it is the most reasonable. Now, we've dealt with all these scapegoats and why this didn't happen. Uncle Larry is now going to tell you why the Littleton, Colorado, in his wisdom, why it really happened, what happened. All right, boys and girls, the Littleton, Colorado slayings took place because Eric and Dylan were sociopaths, okay? They were sociopaths. They were people who had bad chemistry in their brains that prevented them from feeling any empathy with other people. Boys and girls, people who are sociopaths, they cannot feel another person's pain. They don't have compassion, all right? They can't sympathize. So to them, really, shooting another person is no different than shooting an image in a video game. To a sociopath, it's the same thing. But that's not the video game's fault. You know, to a sociopath, killing a guy, a soldier in battle, is no different than killing a poor little old lady, pushing her down the stairs for, you know, what's in her purse. Because, you know, to a sociopath, the poor old lady is just an easier target. So it makes more sense, after all. Now, there's always been sociopaths, boys and girls. The history of the world is full of sociopaths. Sometimes they're big rulers and they end up killing a lot of people. But the best thing you can do with them is just exterminate them immediately because they're bad for the herd. But there's nothing, you know, they're just born that way. They're not caused. It's something genetically in their brains. Now, Uncle Larry thinks that, you know, if somebody is a sociopath, that they ought to just be exterminated because people who have no compassion, Uncle Larry doesn't think they deserve any. You know, the love you take should be equal to the love you make. So there it is, boys and girls. Eric and Dylan, they just happen to be a couple of sociopaths. There's not that many of them. They're rare, you know. Most people in the world can feel another person's pain. It was just pure chance that they happened to be going to the same high school that led them to team up.